Welcome to Bear Down Ballers. I'm your host, AJ Bramlett, back again with my super producer, Ryan Wall. And man, it's been an exciting week, man. It's been a good time for Arizona basketball. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, they did suffer their third loss of the season to Colorado a few days ago. We'll get into that a little later. But AJ, since 2018, your Arizona men's basketball team are Pac-12 regular season champions, and they did it in spectacular fashion by clinching it last night against USC. They won by 20 points. USC is ranked 16, so no slouch of a team, but I mean, let's start off and talk about the shooting and Matherin and Creasa, especially combined for 7 threes, 37 points. What'd you think of it?
I mean, I tweeted this out last night. I thought that first half was the best basketball that we played all year long. And, bouncing back from losses like we've continued to do this year, this was the perfect time for it. I mean, all the dunks in the first half, the sharing of the basketball, the defense, and then the shooting. I mean, if we play like that, I mean, we're going to be a tough out, all the way to the end of this thing. So, I thought Ben played great. Offensively, yes, but the thing that stood out to me the most with him was his passing yesterday. I mean, his pocket passes, his lobs to Ballo, like that's the best game I've seen from him as a floor game, probably this season. And it was just fun to watch and how hype he was getting. When Umar was finishing, and the energy of the team was just amazing last night. And then Kerr just played an all-around great game, floor game. His shot is looking really good right now. His confidence is obviously back with that, and he did a good job on the defensive end too. And a lot of guys shined last night. A lot of guys shined. I mean, Kyer came off the bench, probably his best game of the year offensively. Was really an energy guy for us, finishing. That dunk on the break was nice with the left hand, man. So it was good to see him playing well. And the guy that we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, Dalen Terry, again, continues to impress. I mean, his offensive game is expanding every game. You can see his confidence growing, and him having that third guy that's kind of a consistent scorer and also providing what he provides every game from defense and energy. I mean, that's a huge boost for us. So it was just fun to watch, man. It was a great night for Arizona basketball. You can hear the U of A chants again, in USC's arena, which I always love. So yeah, man, it was just a good time to be a Wildcat.
Yeah, it is for sure, AJ. And yeah, that Matherin, his passing especially, it's been a point of emphasis for Tommy Lloyd throughout since the beginning of the season. Last year, Matherin didn't handle the ball a lot, didn't pass a lot, but last night especially, he put it all together. That no-look pass when he was kind of in that dunker
Yeah.
spot, that was incredible. And then just, subtle things when he's just and with confidence driving to the basket, and finishing over contact. It's just very impressive. And I mean, Tabellus he only had 6 points. He's normally one of their top leading scorers. But I mean, if you have two guys that are shooting the ball, shooting the lights out like Matherin and Creasa did, I mean, it's going to be tough for anybody to beat them. I mean, I literally was just saying to myself, like, they can't miss every single shot. It was just falling. 7 threes in the first quarter. It was just really impressive. And this is just shows that the potential when this team is playing at their best, and this could have been their best game of the season. If you're looking at everything all together, they only had 7 turnovers. AJ, before this, they had 32 turnovers in the previous 2 games. I mean, the shooting 56% from the field, 48 from 3. They were just clicking on all cylinders last night.
Yeah, they played. I mean, offensively, that first half was, the best that we've probably seen this year against a quality opponent like USC. But let's not also overlook the defensive job that CeeLo did, and Umar did, and Zoo on Mobley. I mean, he was 3 for 12 from the field. I mean, they challenged him all night. Made it tough on him, and I thought that was a big key as well. He never was able to get comfortable in that game, and it was just a good game for us. And you want to close out a Pac-12 championship in that fashion on another team's court, and the USC just they weren't ready for what was coming last night.
Yeah, and let's kind of fast forward or backtrack a little bit. To the beginning of the week, Arizona had a 20-point win at Utah. This was another dominant performance. This was Kerr Kriisa as well as he played last night at USC. I mean, he was all around better at Utah. I mean, 21 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 7 threes. I mean, Kirk Kriisa is just shooting the lights out too. In the last 2 games, he's 11 for 21. I mean, it's just crazy, and that volume it could be hard to keep up. But I mean, even if he settles down a little bit, it's going to be hard to stop him.
I mean, it's perfect timing, right? That's what we want. We want him shooting the ball and feeling that his most confident at this time of the year. And so, the triple double was amazing, man. I mean, you don't know how difficult it is to get a triple double in college, and for him to get one at his size. And 10 rebounds in that game, just feisty. The first half he was on fire offensively. Second half he just controlled the game and did what he needed to do to get the victory. Kerr's playing some great basketball right now, and it's just fun to watch. Obviously, he's a spark plug every game, but to have him see those 3-point shots go down is just a huge bonus for us. And so hopefully he'll continue on that hot streak. But the whole team, is playing pretty well, aside from the bloody Saturday night game at Colorado. But we got
Yeah.
past that.
Yeah. I mean, Kerr, that was the first triple double by an Arizona player since 2004, Andre Iguodala. And yeah, they just don't happen. A few times a year, they'll happen in all of college basketball. So to see it for, some consider an undersized point guard is really just incredible stuff. But we'll just touch on it a little bit because, we know they bounced back. But after watching that game against Colorado, they lost by 16 points. They lost. It was in Boulder. I mean, there just wasn't much positive to take from this at all. They shot the ball under 40% from the field, 28% from three. I mean, what did you think about this?
I thought Colorado did a good job in that game of kind of attacking our switching defense. They have 3 guys who are, big guys that can handle the ball, pass, shoot, and kind of put us in a tough situation. So that when we switched Kerr, one of our smaller guys onto their bigs, they were doing a good job finishing, getting to the rim, posting up, and doing those things. That's not going to happen every single game. Not a lot of teams have that kind of, arsenal on their team. But I thought we were tired, man. You know what I mean? And I thought that even at the beginning of that game, the energy that we usually come with wasn't there. And that's this time of year that can happen. I mean, it's been a long season. You're getting to the end of the Pac-12, regular season slate. And sometimes you just don't have it. You can run into a game like that. It happened to us, a few times when I was playing back in the day. So the good thing is that we already know what's going to happen. They have bounced back already with one of their best performances of the year, and they've done that pretty much every loss this year. They've gone on a long run after a loss, adjusted some things, and come back right away with better basketball. So overall, if we take that loss, good win for Colorado. Give them all the credit in the world, but we're back on track now.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona wasn't the only team to slip up on that Saturday. I mean, the rest of the top 6 teams in the country, like 1 through 6, every single team lost. And some teams had worse losses, against unranked teams. So yeah, I don't think it was that big of a deal. I think it's you could take it with a little bit of positivity, just because hopefully they can bounce back, and this will allow them to go on another big win streak, because they were on a 9-game win streak, then they were on a 6-game win streak. So, hopefully they can get that going again. But AJ, I wanted to ask you about your personal experience. We've seen a lot of, top 10 teams that are ranked, lose over the last 2 weeks. Do you think teams get a little, excited for the tournament, or maybe they're worn down from the regular season, the long season? Do you get a sense of that? Did that happen in your experience?
I think it's a combination of both of those things. I think, like we just mentioned, I think the season is long, and once you get to this little point, you kind of have a little dip before your energy goes back up, and it's time for the tournament. And so teams can lose right now. It's better to have a loss right now, to be honest, than really in your conference tournament, or especially in the NCAA tournament. But it's just this time of year. It's going to happen, and I think really the parity in college basketball too, and I think the transfer portal has a lot to do with it too, because there's a lot more experienced teams and guys that have played 4 or 5 years that are playing right now, and that makes a difference when you're playing in these games. And so if you have guys that have been through the wars already, they're able to pull off games like Colorado did against us, or it's just it's part of the basketball landscape now. But overall, I think it's just a little bit of fatigue, a little lull before we get into the super excitement of conference tournaments and NCAA tournament. So it happens across the board. It happened to us, but hey, we're back in the driver's seat now with the Pac-12 championship.
Yeah, I mean that they won, as mentioned there a little bit earlier. They won the Pac-12 season regular championships and first time since 2018. I mean, how big do you think that is? You know, just because we've talked about it so many times throughout the season, but you know, a year ago, really, it's like who would have thought that they could win, you know, a regular season Pac-12 championship? Yeah, I know that the Pac-12 tournament's still coming up, and that's a big deal, but I think this should be, you know, celebrated, you know, a lot because what everything that the program has been through.
It's huge, man. Before the season, like I remember thinking back to our first show and, thinking about where this team would be. I don't think anybody thought they would be, the outright, Pac-12 season champions. And just the way that they played, being ranked number 2 in the country, the just the elevation of the program really in this quick, short amount of time has been something spectacular. So give a lot of credit to these guys, give a lot of credit to Tommy Lloyd. And they're just in a really good position right now, playing good basketball, and we have a shot at winning the whole thing. And that's something that I don't think anybody would have said before the season. So it's been really fun to watch these guys develop. And I think we're in a really good spot to make a really big push coming up here in March.
Yeah, Sammy Lloyd likes to say he takes it game by game, and they still got 2 games left on the season. Tomorrow night they play Stanford at home. They come back to Tucson. Then they finish up the season on Saturday for an afternoon game against Cal. 2 easier opponents, but you know, any team, as we know, in college basketball can always slip up. So they got to still get through these before they play next Thursday, a little over a week from today, in the Pac-12 tournament. They have a bye in the first round. They already locked that up. But what do you expect to see from these last 2 games? Do you expect to see the starters play as many minutes here?
I think they'll play. I think Tommy Lloyd's gonna maybe dabble a little bit with the bench guys a little more. Maybe Pella and Kyer's playing. Coming off his great game, maybe making a little bit more time. And Umar's been pretty much solidified in the rotation and playing a hefty amount of minutes. So, but I think these guys, I mean, coming off the loss, I think the loss helped. I think they're going to be focused. They're not going to, let the guard down at home and try to put on a show for the fans for the last 2 home games. I think it's going to be a good week for us. Started it off right last night, and we'll keep it rolling.
Yeah, if they win those 2, they'll be finished the year 28-3, which is just spectacular. To
Yeah.
do that in the fashion that they have. But yeah, they're getting back a little bit about the Arizona's rotation. You know, they're running basically 8 men deep here. You know, they got Ballo, Kyer, and Pella off the bench. Kim Aiken, who was on the team, there's an update on him about a week ago. He was on the team early in the season, but he had to leave due to personal issues. And Tommy said that he won't be returning to the team. He's off the roster. We don't know the reasons, but I mean, that's a big loss. I mean, I really was excited to see him from the start of the season. I felt like he added something different. But I feel like it's, what do you think? I mean, it seems like everyone's stepping up in their role. I mean, you could just see game by game. I mean, but at the beginning of the year, Ballo like wasn't even a play like really a playable guy in big minutes, but now he's one of the most productive players.
Yeah, I mean, the bench has been doing great, man. And Kyer last night, was amazing. uh, Coming along on his offensive game as well. And the guy with that kind of experience is just a luxury to have, man. And so that's going to really show during the tournament. Same thing with Pella. I mean, Pella has been solid all season long. Brings consistency every game. What you want from your bench guys is to know that they're consistent, so that when you put them in, the level of the starters is not going to drop, or if they come in and starters aren't playing well, that they're able to elevate that level. All 3 of these guys, including Umar's been playing, amazing basketball lately. All 3 of them know exactly what they need to do when they come in the game. They know their role, and they finish that role as well as anybody in the country. So I think we're playing really good basketball right now. The chemistry is great, and I think those guys will show even more how important they are when we get to the Pac-12 and the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, AJ, let's just get right into our next segment of the show. Our guest, I mean, this is one of our best that we've had all year. I mean, just tell us who it is. One of your close people throughout your basketball journey.
Oh, absolutely. This is a man that I've known since I was 9 years old. Legendary man across the Arizona basketball decades, and somebody that everybody loves. Mr. Jim Rosborough will be joining us next on Bear Down Ballers. Before we move on to the next topic, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at BetRivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with BetRivers yet, now's the time because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Play Instant Approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With basketball season tipping off, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, welcome to Bear Down Ballers. I'd like to welcome in my guy, my coach, a legend in the eyes of so many at the University of Arizona and beyond, Mr. Jim Rosborough. How are you doing, Coach?
Hey, Jay, I'm really doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. I appreciate you taking the time to hop on with me today.
Yeah, I don't know about all that legend stuff, but here we are. We had a great run and so on and so forth. But glad to be with you. Nice to see you.
Of course, yeah. I mean, the legend that's cemented, man. You already know that. Like you talk to anybody across all the years of our program, Roz is the legendary figure in those times. So you helped us so much, in so many different areas to be successful in life that. The feelings and the deep love that we have for you is something really special, Coach.
Well, I appreciate that. And of course, my love for you guys. I mean, AJ, the things that we went through, and you were right involved with your family and everything. I mean, of all the Division I men's and now women's basketball players, I mean, come on, nobody has that experience. A minuscule number of people have the experience that we had. So, yeah, those were really great days. And the best thing, AJ, it was really a great group of young men. You guys were all high quality people. And yeah, there were a couple knuckleheads that were around on the team and so on. But yeah, we had a great group of people and good coaches. It was great times, boy.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, man. I don't know if people really know, like when you and I first met, I don't think because, when I was 9 years old, I think.
The Northern Illinois Husky basketball camp. AJ, I still have the brochure on that thing, and I look back and say, "Oh my gosh, we probably had a total of 22 kids there." But it was that's when we first met, long time ago.
Yep, turned out really well for us, I would say, in the long run. So
yeah,
I want to jump in a little bit with you and just like your history, your coaching history. I mean, you had some great runs, obviously at Iowa, Ronnie Lester and those guys back in the day with Coach Olson in the first Final Four you went to. I mean, you coached around you were one of the greatest recruiters in the high school or the Chicago area back in the day, before moving to Arizona. And you just had a legendary career. Like, what made you get into coaching at the beginning, and how did you find that passion for it, initially?
Well, AJ, I mean, I grew up playing basketball like you did. My dad put a hoop up on our garage when I think I was 3 years old. And he got up on top of a picnic table, held me up in the air, and I dropped in my first basket. So I was 1 for 1, got about 3. I grew up in Moline, Illinois, which was a hotbed for basketball. We played in a field house, a freestanding field house with about 6,000 people. And really, AJ, the goal of any kid in Moline that was any kind of a basketball player or athlete wanted to play in Wharton Fieldhouse. So, I played all the way through. Then I was on the team. Now, I was kind of the Josh Pastner of our team at Iowa. I was kind of a scrub down the line, but I played all 4 years there. And then I went in Chicago and had a year of law school, which I didn't particularly care for. And then I started teaching in the Chicago public school system. And I think it was in 1970, 71, that year, my principal at my school, a man named William Murphy, who frankly, AJ, as much as I owe Lute, I owe this guy everything. He really helped me get an 8th grade team started, of all things. And we had uniforms, we had everything. And Mr. Murphy helped us out. We traveled all over the city. We went back to my hometown of Moline, Illinois. A real quick story if you got time, AJ. So, I was on the west side, and it was a kind of a rough neighborhood and so on. Every once in a while, the school would get broken into. You've heard about all that kind of stuff. So this was a huge break-in, probably about 73. And as you came into the school, there was a staircase and came down, and right in the middle, Mr. Murphy had purchased about an 8-foot-high trophy case, glass, blah, blah, blah. We'd filled the thing up with trophies, both track and basketball. And so we had quite a break-in. They went into classrooms. They threw stuff through the window out here. They didn't touch the trophy case. Nobody touched the trophy case, which was really kind of a testament to what we were doing in the neighborhood. And so from there, I coached there 4 years. We had a great run, great kids, great teams. I mean, now I'm talking 8th grade, AJ, but we were organized. And then I had an interview with Lute in the summer of 1974, and he hired me, and then off we went, through some rough days. But that's really how I got there. I was teaching school and so on, AJ, and I don't know how you feel. I knew I didn't want to do that at that level my whole life, and so got this break from Lute, actually for $1,000 for a year, a lot of money.
Oh.
And so I went out there and moved my stuff into my apartment, got in my car, went back into Chicago and started recruiting. So that's kind of the background on how it all happened.
Well, I mean, you did an excellent job of it, man. You recruited some really, amazing people over the years, developed us all as not only players, but people, really, you know what I mean? And
I appreciate
you were always the rock, like the person that if we had a problem with our girlfriend or we had a problem in school.
Well, you all had that, AJ. I was always dealing with that. Come on, I always had that problem. Yeah.
You were our guy, though. You were the guy that we could go to and talk, about our personal stuff, and you really took care of us like a dad. So, I just want to thank you for that, Coach. Like that was.
I appreciate that. No, I appreciate that. And then AJ, the interesting thing was, you got into high school, and of course we knew about you here, and I can remember the exact day, the hotel where Coach O and I stayed. We had breakfast, and I think we came over to school or something, maybe the night before we came to your home and so on. I can remember the exact thing about the whole visit. I remember when everybody came on campus, I think it was all 4 of your parents came campus visit. I can remember it just like yesterday. So those were really great days, and great to get you at the University of Arizona.
That was the best decision I ever made, man. It really, really changed my life for the better. And I can't imagine it going any other way. So let's talk about this. So over at Arizona, I was looking at the numbers, which is kind of crazy. Like you coached 50 All-Americans, all-conference or pro guys over the time that you were there. And, I always say this about Arizona is like the way that you guys coached us and helped us improve from year to year was something that is not a lot of programs are able to do. Like what went into that formula, do you think, that you were able to take guys, because you and Coach Olson both, like you didn't recruit. I mean, we had our top guys like Mike Bibb, McDonald's All-Americans, but most of our team was built up of, mid to high level guys that needed to develop, that weren't fully formed when they got to Arizona. Like what went into your thought process and getting the best out of all of us? I always wanted to ask you that.
Well, I mean, Coach O, and I've said this a lot of times, AJ, I'm not sure there are very many coaches that have ever coached from the beginning, James Naismith with basketball on through today, that were as good a practice coaches as he was. Now, that's not to say he wasn't a great game coach, but you remember his practices down to the minute. Fundamentals here, fundamentals there, ball handling, big guys get down, act like guards. You can probably remember, get down in the stance, push, all this stuff, get your arms up, but he was a tremendous practice coach. So that was part of it. You guys were taught, it was demanded, excellence in the program. And it took time, AJ. I mean, you remember your freshman year and then into your sophomore, junior, senior year, but it was the same thing. And it was a type of program where we wanted good kids that fit into the formula. We didn't need the superstars. And yeah, you're right. Maybe Bibbs was an All-American and a couple other guys, but we wanted guys that fit into the program, fit into the recruiting formula. We're good people, going to work hard. And then we coached, and I think you remember the practices, well organized. The assistants were spread out. Lute ran the practice, stopped all. This is an interesting thing, AJ. I've had a lot of people say, man, we used to come down to your practices and they were choppy. Lute would stop them all the time and they were choppy. And they were, but nothing nothing got by that guy in terms of, it wasn't how he liked it. If you weren't fronting the post, AJ, or move your feet, I can remember exactly, stop practice and get it corrected. So, I mean, I think it was something where he was demanded that of us assistants to teach the things that he wanted. And I've also said this, AJ, I think you would probably agree. Now, there were sometimes we had to go through scouting of an opponent and there was maybe a cut or something that we didn't see in practice. But for the most part, everything that you guys were going to see in games was covered in practice. Yeah. Two hands of the ball, front to post, 3/4, pressure the ball on the outside, ball hail. I mean, all fundamentals. And that was kind of the formula. I mean, it was a teaching program, excellent practices, competitive scrimmage every day, which is absolutely critical, stopping practice, telling, AJ and Donnell down there to do this or that and so on. So I think that's a formula. And I really hadn't, I mean, you're nice to say that, AJ. I really had never stopped to think of that, but that was a formula. And then you guys also, well, I think you knew there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes to make it easy for you guys to come to practice, to do well. There were academic people to help you, not do your work, but academic people to help you. Equipment was good, shoes. I mean, it was virtually kind of hard to not fit in. And if you were willing to work hard and pay attention, you were going to get better. And it was a great style of play. You know that, up and down the floor, get the ball inside, get it kicked out. You guys screen, come off the screen. Come on, AJ, screen better than that. You know, all that kind of stuff. But it was every single day demanding. Finished on Saturday, almost all the time with a big tide scrimmage, let people in, and then a few deep sixes at the end just to rub it in that you'd had a tough day. That was always kind of fun.
I don't think I could run any deep sixes right now, Ross.
I don't know if I could even stand up while you guys were running the total of a deep six.
So
I'll tell you something else, AJ, too.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned all those pro guys, and you had a good career, and you were a pro. But I think a lot of guys came to Arizona knowing that the style of play was going to be good for them if they wanted to move on. I think of a couple transfers who people say, well, geez, how were they? Chris Mills was one of the best guys I ever coached because he knew this was his last chance at Arizona. Brian Williams, oh boy, a little goofy, but I'll tell you what, he came to practice. He worked hard because he knew this was his chance to move on and get better and make his mark in the professional world. So it was a good system. It was a fun system. I hope you guys would say that. Inside out, outside in. Guys like Bennett and you guys. I mean, it was just a group of terrific guys, but a system that was there all the time.
Another guy that came in, that did an incredible job, that came in my senior year, Lauren Woods, too. Yeah. I think is in that ball.
Yeah, another one. Same thing. I mean, phenomenal player. But he knew this was his chance. And again, it was a system where it wasn't all, everybody says point guard you. Well, I agree. We had some pretty good point guards, but we also had good inside people too. So you being the featured one in Arizona history, AJ, you know that.
You always tell me that every time I see you. You're the best center to ever play.
Yeah.
So talk to me, what were some of your favorite teams to coach over the years? Like you were up, I mean, so many years, you coached so many guys and different situations, but what were some of your favorite memories of? And 97 excluded, we'll get to that, but besides that year.
Well, we had some really good teams at Iowa. In 79, we tied for the Big Ten title, and the Iowa men have not done that since. Now, the Iowa women this last weekend did tie for the Big Ten title, I think. You mentioned Ronnie Lester. We had a great team, Kenny Arnold, who sadly passed away, Vince Brookins, Steve Krasison, who's just finishing up a great coaching career. Steve Waite, we had really good people there. Those were fun teams. Mark Gannon, Bobby Hansen, who played professionally. Mm-hmm. So those were really good teams, good years. And AJ, kind of unbeknownst, 5 consecutive years, starting in 79, we went to the NCAA tournament. Nobody in Big Ten history had done that, including Judd Heathcote, Magic Johnson, all those good teams at Indiana with Bobby Knight. So those were great years. I was out of coaching for a couple of years when Lute came down here. And then I went to Tulsa with a guy named J.D. Barnett. And AJ, when we got to Tulsa, it was a mess. And we had to get academic stuff straightened out and this and that. And I worked for a guy named J.D. Barnett, who was a wild man, a great coach, a wonderful. I owe a lot to Coach Barnett. But that was a great year. And we made it to the NCAA tournament. An interesting fact there, AJ, I had the scout. We were playing Navy. So we were out in Syracuse at the Dome there and so on and so forth. And I'd gotten the scouting report ready, and they had this 7-foot center, a guy, I think his name was David Robinson. You've probably heard of him. Yeah, so I'm walking down the hall from the locker room to get something in the training room or something. I go by this guy. He isn't 7 feet. He's 7'4". Saying, holy smoke. But that was a great year. With JD, I really learned a lot from him that I carried over to Northern Illinois. I had 3 years there. I wish it would have been a little longer at Northern Illinois. We were making a lot of progress. And the team, AJ, that I started, that I recruited there, a guy named Donald Whiteside, Danell Thomas, kind of the featured guys, they went to the NCAA tournament as seniors, and I think went 26-5. So we really had the foundation laid. But I was let go there. That wasn't a lot of fun. And then came down to Arizona, where, just as you said, and I appreciate the comments, we had a great run for 18 years here until Coach got out of it. So the teams here, and it's really hard to distinguish, AJ. I mean, you know the facts. When I got here, Ossick, Muehlbach were here, Brian Williams, Mills, a lot of Judd Bushler, a lot of really good guys. And then you go on up through the Corey Williams, Joseph Blair, Ben Davis, 94 Final Four team. And then you guys in 97, and the time you were here with your friend Jason. I mean, it's hard to distinguish, because every single year, to be honest with you, I mean, you may recall, I tried to hide it, but every year when the seniors left, I'd cry, because you've been there 4 years with these people and put your heart and soul into getting stuff done and helping you win and be successful. So, it's really hard to distinguish. The 80 team at Iowa was terrific. You guys in 97, terrific. I don't want to diminish 94. And then 2001 Final Four as well. All really good teams, all great people. Hard to distinguish.
Yeah, I'm sure. But, I mean, all good choices to pick from. You know what I mean? And you said with those.
And I'll tell you something else, AJ. This is, I mean, you say, well, this guy's nuts. Well, I'm still coaching, so maybe I am a little nuts. But I really liked my 8th grade teams in Chicago. They were really fun. We did. Mr. Murphy bought us uniforms. We were really kind of the cool people in Chicago. We played about 50, 60 games a year, travel around and so on. And I really liked those kids. A couple of them have stayed in touch now over the years. So those were really, really, really fun days as well.
That says a lot about the relationships that you built with players over the years, Coach. So that means a lot. So what were your thoughts and hopes and dreams for a young, skinny kid like myself and my running partner, Mr. Jason Terry, when we stepped off campus in 95? Did you have any idea what was going to transpire when we got on campus?
Did you? I'll ask you the question.
No way. No, not at all. We didn't know where to go.
Even when we got the bid in 97 to go to the tournament, I mean, you know how it was in the South Alabama game with 7 or 8 minutes to go. We were cooked. So, in terms of you and Jason, first of all, I like the friendship. I think it's remained strong to this day. Really, really, really close friends, shared a lot. And that was great to see. Well, and you guys came in and worked. I mean, you had your job. You were talented center. You could run. I've seen, even on YouTube, every once in a while, some of your great moves will come up. You were terrific defensive center. And that started when you were a freshman. You were taught, you listened, you learned. Jason worked with the perimeter people all the time, and we had some good people there that made him better. So, could you ever envision winning, a national title? I don't think that. I don't think there's any way. But I will tell you, once we got by Providence, which was maybe one of the harder games of the whole tournament, then you start to smell it a little bit. And we'd beaten North Carolina earlier in the year. Wasn't a high scoring game, wasn't a thing of beauty. And then you're playing for the national title. So it just kind of got on a roll. And AJ, I know you remember for sure, South Alabama was well coached, but maybe not quite the power of some of theirs. Then we played College of Charleston. We had a great coach, great system, really good. And then we go in, and I think we played a team from Kansas. And my friends in Kansas still are upset about that game. I mean, that was unbelievable. And then Providence, and then on to win the title. But who could have ever thought it? Nobody could have thought it.
Yeah, like so you guys as coaches, you and Coach O, like during that run, were you guys too kind of surprised about what we were doing, like behind closed doors? You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's what I always wanted to know. Like, what are we doing? This is crazy.
No, that's really the truth. And I don't say this to brag at all, but I'd been to other tournaments, NCAA and so on and so forth, and you know how it is. It's a crapshoot. You just don't know. On an off night, you're done and you go home and everything else. But everything that you could think of started to click once we got by South Alabama. And I don't know how relieved you guys felt, but I'll tell you, from a coaching standpoint, and then it's just like everything that I hope you guys would feel we did. There wasn't any great hoopla. There wasn't anything else. It was, let's do our job. Got your scouting report, went through all the stuff on the court, worked on our fundamentals probably the day before the game, worked on some shooting the day of the game, and then you go out and play. I mean, I don't recall, AJ, that there was anybody ever said, boy, we got a chance and everything. It was just game to game, do your job. Game to game, do your job. And that's what happened.
And I say this all the time, every time anybody asks me about it, but the chemistry on that team between all of us was like the purest I've ever been around. Like, about guys just all on the same page, pulling in one direction. We were a little bit, had a little chip on our shoulder because of how the regular season went that year and what people were saying about us, before we got to the tournament. So it was just an amazing experience to really go through all that.
AJ, we really did have a good formula. We had Jason, who I guess had consented to come off the bench as the best six man in the country, or at least I guess he did. I don't know for sure. I heard stuff recently. In any event, we had 4 perimeter people. And then we had Donnell and Eugene that could come in for you and Bennett. So we had 8 people, great rotation, great chemistry there. You don't need 9, you don't need 10. I mean, maybe you play them once, but the 8 was the perfect number of people to have, and everybody did get along. So pulling the same oar, and it was magical. There's no question about it.
I was going to ask you, what do you remember about the night that we won a championship? Because I have like foggy memories of what happened after we actually won. And
Listen,
what
AJ,
did you do?
People have never asked that, and that's really a good question. I'll tell you this honestly. This is the truth. So you may or may not recall, I had the scouting report. So I get up in the front, we're in the locker room, blah, blah, blah. First of all, I thought I was going to cry. So I really had to turn away from you guys and stifle. I mean, it was just so magical to be there. So that was a rough one, but I will tell you the truth. I cannot remember a single thing out of the game. I can't remember anything. Were we coaching? Were we doing this? Were we doing that? I mean, I've seen the film. I know I was there. I know what I wore. Now this is just personal. We were coaching, everything else, but I'm like you, it's foggy. Now I do know after the game that we did have to go back to the hotel or somewhere and get the big trophy. That was fine.
Yeah.
And then AJ, I don't know where you guys went, but there was a social function down in the middle of the hotel down there. So I know Kim and I stopped in there. The fun thing was my 2 sons, Greg and John, and Matthew Brazzi, and maybe Mike. They ran into Mike Bibby at McDonald's here. I don't know where you guys all went. Yeah, big time. But my kids were out. It was a very safe atmosphere there and everything else. I remember going to the social function, and then the next day the parade and all that business coming home. But no, it's very, very hard to remember, play by play or anything else in the game. I can remember Miles grabbing the ball at the end. And what I really liked, the best thing of the whole night, AJ, not winning, but when you pushed Josh Passmer out of the way of the game, just trying to
that was a long time coming. That was a long time coming, Coach. That was all season long.
So that I do remember and really like. But, otherwise, it is, like you say, kind of a fog, to be honest with you.
So we did that 97, wonderful. I thought 98, our 98 team was a much better team though, in terms of the way that we operated on the court, the way that we played, the runs that we used to go on guys. I just thought we were just way better than the year before. Like, and we weren't able to get it done. And that Utah game was awful. It's still a nightmare to me. I always wanted to ask you, like, what was going through your guys' mind when we were in that game, like as coaches? Like, I don't know, it was such a crazy game.
Well, I mean, AJ, you know the facts. I mean, it's not like we didn't work on shooting. And I don't know the mindset of you guys. I couldn't judge, and I wouldn't want to judge or anything else. To be honest with you, I think there might have been a little bit of an atmosphere amongst team members that here we go, we're on our way to San Antonio, and kind of forgot to play the game. Now, I don't know how you would judge or say that. And the thing that's I guess years of coaching, when you're out there and we had good shooters, that, and they're not going in. And so my theory as I've gotten older is maybe there's just not that focus that we had when whoever we played the game before, when we were playing Kentucky, maybe that little bit of focus was gone because we just plainly didn't shoot the ball well at all. And I'm sure it was very disconcerting for you guys because you'd been together that season. You're right. We were a better team. I got a picture back here. You guys were on Basketball Weekly, the 6 of you there, and then we were the odds-on favorite. And Miles is saying, "Bring them on," and all this stuff. And that was a hell of a team, no question about it. And we just ran into a night where the ball just wasn't going in for whatever reason. And, if we could dissect everybody's head, there may be some reasons on that, but that was really, really disappointing because you know the facts. You don't get a chance to be the defending champion in 2 in a row. You don't get that very often, basketball. So, I'm sure you still think about that, as I do too.
It still bothers me. Still bothers me too. I think if we would have won that game, we probably would have won it again. Yeah. We would have got through that game. But I think you're right. We overlooked him a little bit, and Andre Miller had a hell of a performance against us too. Yeah, didn't help. But so, talk to me a little bit about the 2001 team. I've always been interested in your perspective on that. I was watching from afar when I was playing in Spain, staying up late watching you guys, and talk to me about that team and the dynamics of that team and that run that you made too, because I've always been interested to hear from someone who was on the inside during that time.
Well, that was a good team, really, really a good team, well balanced. So we had Lauren Woods inside, Michael Wright, who was about as tough a person as I've ever coached in my life, immovable, whatever, 250, 260, left hand, could run, jump, nice little 12-foot jump shot. And then we had Gilbert and Jason at the guards, and you can say what you want about Gilbert Arenas. He was a brilliantly smart basketball player, a little goofy, and he wouldn't mind if I said that now. Jason Gardner, a rock, he'd grab Lauren Woods by the jersey, and then Richard Jefferson, who had only about a 14 or 15-year pro career at the 3, with Luke Walton coming off the bench, Ricky Anderson coming off the bench, Justin Wessel coming off the bench as a 5th-year guy. Eugene Edgerson was back. It was loaded. It was absolutely loaded, and I can't tell you every single game. Now that, I guess, that's the year that Coach Olson's wife passed away. Right, so everybody really, during that time around the new year and getting into the Pac-10 season, then everybody kind of had to pull together and so on. And we got off to a 3-1 start in the league. And then Coach came back and we had a pretty good run, got into the tournament, and we were good. We were good. We had good balance, good depth. Lauren, you recall 7'1", but you look at every single spot there. And Jason Gardner, he may be the least highly known of that group, and yet I don't know if you know this, he still stands the second most minutes played in the history of the NCAA, behind Danny Manning from Kansas. Wow. So Jason was there, and he was a rock at a guard, and he was fearless. And the only thing I'll tell you about Jason, and if he's listening or ever hears it, it's the truth. You remember how Lute used to get up on the basket, the thing that held the basket there, and he'd say, "Okay, defense, don't look at me," and he'd give a signal as to we're going to run the 3. Everybody kind of looked away, but one guy, Jason Gardner, he'd stand right there and stare at Lute. Never turned his back like he was supposed to ever. And he'd stand out there at half court, and Coach was talking, and Josh and I would be out there, and he'd be whispering to Josh, and he never paid attention. And he knows that I think that. But that was a good team. And you figure Luke Walton's not starting.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He and Richard. I think what happened is, AJ, maybe you remember better. One of them got hurt early in the in the Pac-10 season. I think that was the year. So maybe Luke was starting and then he got hurt and Richard came in or something. But, you know, Luke Walton not starting. Are you kidding? That's how talented that team was. We smashed Michigan State in the semifinals. I mean, smashed them, and then played for the title against Duke. And I will go to my casket saying that it may be the worst refereed game. And everybody saw that summer. That was just awful, the officiating. The whole way through, and referees that were at summer camps were saying that was just terrible. I walked off the court with Josh after that game, and I'm not going to tell you the words I used because I'm sure this is going around the world, but I said, Josh, we just got screwed, and we did.
Yeah.
The refs were horrendous. Now, I think it still turned out to be an 8-point game, but that was kind of a tough one to swallow because of I wouldn't be embarrassed to tell Chris Rastad or local referees. It was a badly called game.
Well, I don't know if you saw this last week about with Richard and Gilbert talking about that game. And Richard said it was Gil's fault because he went 3 for 40. and Gil said it was Richard's fault because Dudley
of course.
Points.
Yeah, but I'm sure this was the truth. Gilbert got hit in the chest in the Michigan State game and he couldn't raise his arms.
That's what he said.
Yeah, so I mean that would have helped too. I mean he went out on Sunday night and tried to find a gym somewhere apparently to do a little bit of shooting and see if he could get going. But he was definitely hurt, and that definitely hurt us a little bit because again, as you know, he was awfully good.
Yeah, it was a great run though. Great run.
Yeah.
So let's just jump in a little bit about your relationship with Coach O and how it's for so many years, so many successes. Just talk a little bit about that, your relationship with Coach and how it developed over the years.
Well, he hired me out of it. I was an 8th grade coach. And he hired me. My dad gave me the best, and I've repeated this to my sons and everybody else. When Lute hired me, $1,000 a year, grad assistant, but you could go out and recruit and everything right away. So there were 4 of us on the staff, and my dad gave me when I drove out of the house to go to Iowa City, son, work so hard, he can't get rid of you. And that was kind of the formula. And I think even right away, even though we had our first staff meeting, AJ, with Floyd Third, great coach, Dick Kuchin was still there, Lute and me, and they're talking ball side, help side, all this. And I'm saying, holy mackerel, I didn't know the ball side from a triangle, But every day was a learning experience. And I think he knew for sure the first couple of years, because I was really, really heavily involved in the recruiting then more than maybe a few years later. But we got good kids in that gave us a chance to win. I think he appreciated the hard work. And there did seem to be, AJ, kind of a meeting of the minds. We didn't have to sit down and talk every day, but I kind of knew what he wanted. I think he knew what he was going to get out of me. And so it really developed into a pretty, trustworthy relationship. I mean, we were flying into cornfields and blizzards to go see kids and, all over the place, driving from Iowa City in to see Ronnie Lester in Chicago. So we had a lot of time together besides just at the office. And his wife, Bobby, who was a wonderful lady, kind of befriended Kim once we were married, and the families got along and so on. And we really had some very good times. So it was kind of just that meeting of the minds. And AJ, I've mentioned this to other people. So when he left Iowa in '83, I stayed out of coaching a couple of years, and then I went with J.D. Barnett to Tulsa. And then I was 3 years the head coach with Don and everybody at Northern Illinois. And then when he hired me back in '89, it was like we'd never been apart, AJ. Yeah. The meeting of the minds was there. He took the team to Europe. I was there to run camp, which I'd done all the time at Iowa. Everything done, everything in place, just was like clockwork. And I think I assume he would say this, really just a meeting of the minds, and knew what we had to do. Everything done to make his job easy. You guys really, players weren't aware, but we have a meeting with the managers every year and say, hey, you don't have to worry about anything else. We're here to make Coach O's job easier, because there is a lot of pressure on the head guy. So it was up until the last 10 minutes, really, really a great relationship. And I mean, all you have to do is look at the results. And I don't want to take any more credit than anything else, but with the two of us were kind of the constant there, and there was a lot of success. So it was just really a good working relationship. And again, AJ, we didn't have to talk. There were some days other than on the court we didn't really talk.
Yeah,
we just knew what was going on, the drills, blah blah blah. It was a good relationship.
Well, I think as all of us players that came through the program, benefited from you guys' relationship and the way that you guys operated, and it rubbed off on us and really benefited us as human beings and as players. So, it was a great thing to see, Coach.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for that. So a little bit, let me get your thoughts on the current team. I mean, they're having a heck of a year. Coach Lloyd is doing an incredible job in his first year. Like, what are your thoughts on the state of Arizona basketball right now?
Well, first of all, I really like Tommy, and he's been very nice, AJ, in terms of reaching out. And I really do appreciate that. And it's not an ego-driven thing by me, but he's been very kind that way. And he's, I think, just really a spectacular coach. And, he paid his dues at Gonzaga and was there and involved in a lot of things. So I think he's a very good coach. He's surrounded himself with good people staff-wise. And, Sean Miller recruited these guys.
Yeah.
They're playing Tommy's style of ball, but there was some talent here. And he's brought them along. I've been down to numerous practices, and he's brought them along and emphasizes what he wants and how he wants the post play. And we want the lob, which we would have thrown to you, but you couldn't jump very well. And but the whole system, it's you've seen them. They're unselfish. They love playing. They respond to Tommy. There isn't anything that, you look at the assists, and I think they lead the nation or one or two or something in assists per game, and they share the ball, and they're good passers, and they run, back similar to the days you were here, get up and down the floor, and the big guys can run, or somebody will, they get the wings out. So I think they're really, really in good shape. Now, the other night, I read the papers today. Man, is there reason to worry? Well, come on. You're
road loss.
Yeah. So, he's got to go to USC tomorrow night. That'll be a tough game, but that's fine. You don't want cupcakes at this stage. Get yourself ready for the tournament. A couple more home games. Pac-10 tournament that, you know how it is there, AJ. It really won't have much of an effect on where they're seated. Now, you don't want to say that or, anything else, but that's the truth. And they're going to be a 1 or 2 seed. There's no question. They're really, really good, really fun to watch, good kids, everything that I hear. So good program.
Yep, it should be an exciting run the rest of the season. So it's been fun to watch them playing that brand of basketball and the way that they really get along, which reminds me of, our teams back in the day. So, yeah.
Well, and, the interesting thing is, to me, maybe the MVP of the team, and I don't know how you'd feel, AJ, but is this Dalen Terry kid.
Yep.
And I really didn't know much about him last year. I saw him play a couple times, but he's unselfish. He's a facilitator for the other guys. He can rebound like crazy. He can run the floor like a deer, but he kind of takes a back seat maybe to some of the other guys in terms of getting them the ball for shooting. I really like the way he plays. Now they're good, and hard to single out any guy, but he's to me kind of the essence of what this team's about. Shares the ball, a facilitator for sure.
Absolutely. He's a great player. Fun to watch every time out, man. Brings that energy, brings that real energy. Well, Coach Ross, I appreciate you so much. Like I said, everything that you've done for me over my lifetime, the support that you've given me, the person that you've always been in my corner. I just appreciate you. This was really fun. And hopefully I can get you back on again.
Hey, AJ, yeah, get me back on. Dude, I've been waiting since you started this. Get me on, I told you. Come on.
And so appreciate you coming on.
It, AJ.
Good luck on Wednesday night. Go get that victory on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And I will talk to you soon. Tell us much as well.
We'll do the same to all your family, AJ.
I appreciate you, Roz. Thank you, man.
Okay, thanks.
Talk to you soon. Okay, bye-bye.